Good morning. Hi, everybody. First, thank you for letting me bow out yesterday. Turned out to be a headache day all day long, and then a fun filled, very frenetic day with my granddaughter, who is coming over again today, along with one of my grandsons. And yeah, I'm back. No makeup, but you know what? It's okay. Some days you just get up and you get done what needs to be gotten done. This morning, I have a little task that I need to do, and I thought you might like to watch along. Um, this is a hackle. And yes, it is just as dangerous looking as you think it is. I've got it clamped to the table right now. These tines are sharp, but they're not needlepoint sharp. Um, but they open up fiber that is, kind of compressed, and they turn it into these beautiful fiber clouds. And I need to make a couple of clouds this morning, so I just thought I'd take you along for the ride. So watch as I use this hackle to open up these fibers. These are merino fibers that I got from worldofwool.com. Um, they were if you know what a drum carter is, and I think I've had a drum carter on here before, I'll have it on here again because I think my Halloween, day before Halloween live is going to be all about the implements of torture in felting and fiber prep. Anyway, this will be one that I'll revisit. A drum carter will be another that I'll revisit. I'll show you my picker, which anytime I move and people look at that thing, because the lid always comes off whenever you're trying to move it around because it looks like it has a handle, but really that's just the handle for the lid, not a handle to carry it. And then it opens up and everyone's going, ah! It's like a Vincent Price horror movie getting ready to start. Anyway, but that'll be October 30th. But worldofwool.com had these leftover bits of dyed wool at a great price. They're all different lengths because they were the excess bits when the fiber had been carded into rovings and then removed from the ginormous drum carding machine. And I got the leftover bits, for a song at World of Wool. So this is, I mean, it's one of those ways that you can get a good deal on dyed fiber and be able to use it in your felting. Because, those of us that are felting, we don't necessarily need to have the fiber all one length. It's not as important for us to have, even lengths of fiber like it is for spinners who are trying to create yarn and trying to have a sturdy yarn product. We're felting it. We're taking a needle to the fiber, so we don't need to have, the fancy rovings or the perfectly done top or bat. They don't have to be in those perfect, all long staple and beautifully drafted out. We don't need that for felting. And so get a good deal when you can. It's definitely worth it. And it's what allows me to keep my kit prices down to a very reasonable cost because I use a lot of this kind of wool in my kits. So, but anyway, as I was saying, this is a way to open up those fibers and to get them a little less compressed because as those fibers are going around that huge carding machine that's as big as a room, they're giant. um, and these are the leftover bits, and it just makes it possible to open up those little bits that have been compressed along the edges of those big carding machines and allows me to open up the fibers to make it easy to do things like finger blend and adding little bits of wool to a needle felted or wet felted design. And sometimes I'll pull off the little bits right at the beginning when I'm running them through this wonderful little hackle so that I can open those fibers up. And then I just start by pulling the fibers off on the back side. You can still see the front side here, and that's where, those tight areas are grabbing a hold of those tines. but I've got this fluff that I can pull off on this side. And then I'll lift it up and I will come in at a different angle and I'll try and get those fibers that were on the front drafted out a little bit more. Here is where having, really good kitchen knife skills works, because you see how I'm holding it. That's kind of how you hold your fingers when you're using a knife to cut an onion or a tomato or a green pepper or something. And it protects you a little bit, keeps your fingers definitely from getting grabbed by the hackles, which isn't as bad as a knife or even a felting needle, but it still hurts. But having your knuckles come down at almost a parallel angle to the tines keeps you from hurting yourself. So once I get down to the bottom bit of this, and you can spread it out a little bit and see if you can pull a little bit further, I am not tearing the fiber. This is not breaking the fiber. The fiber is really strong. This is just opening up the fiber. And when I get to the very end, I just take my fingers and sort of open up that last little bit to cloud it out and to fluff it up. And then I'm ready for the next little bit. So I have two colors of yellow that I'm working on getting opened up this morning. I call this one more of a true yellow, and this one I call more of an egg yolk yellow, especially if your eggs are farm fresh. Excuse me, farm fresh. You know how beautifully almost orange those egg yolks can be when they are, free range eggs and getting them from a farm that takes care of their chickens, and takes care of their hens, and gives them love and cuddles and all that good stuff. This is the color egg yolks you get when you get those eggs. But again, the hackle is, it's it's a tool. It's not a machine. I was about to say that it's an easy, manual machine, but it's not a machine. It's just a tool. And you don't have to have a hackle to do this. You can do this same type of opening up of the fibers with something like a hair pick that you can get from the dollar store. And you just hold the hair pick and you do the same thing. And you pull the fibers over the tines of the hair pick, and it'll give you that same bit of opening. It's not 2 layers wide. You could make your own, handmade hold in your hand hackle by taking 2 hair picks and connecting them together so that the tines are just slightly off, and then, I don't know, glue it or duct tape it together or something. If you decide to make yourself a little handheld hackle like that, um, I would recommend that you use, I'm just going to take this and fluff this. I'd recommend that you use a sturdy plastic, or even one or two of the metal tined hair picks that you can find. Now, those are a heck of a lot sharper than this is. So you're going to want to be careful. But if you're holding it in your hand, you're not doing exactly the same kind of motion that I'm doing here with the table hackle. Now, this is a rather short hackle. Some hackles, there are fiber artists that and fiber producers that create beautiful rovings by blending their wool on a hackle that's almost as long as my table here. And what they'll do is they'll just sort of line up each color or fiber texture on the hackle, and they'll layer it over and keep building it and building it and building it until it gets to, the point where they're pretty sure that they've got it as full as they want it to be. And then they will draft it off using something called a diz. If you've ever seen a kitchen tool, and I go back to kitchen tools and home tools a lot in my fiber work because I started out on the cheap. We didn't have a lot of money when I was, and I still don't have a lot of money, but we didn't have a lot of money when I discovered felting 12 years ago. And so I, looked at what the official tools were in the fiber producing arena, and I did my best with what I could find at home. But anyway, back to the kitchen tool. If you know what a pasta serving measuring tool is, it's just a little piece of plastic that has different size holes in it. Got a piece of fiber. And a diz is rather like that. It has, there it is again. It has different size holes so that you can determine how wide or how thick the roving is going to be. And then you start at one end and you sort of pull those fibers through that diz until you get that roving drafted out. Now, I bow my you know head to those people. I'll take a knee for them because that's an awful lot of work, and it's tough doing that, but it makes for some beautiful chunky rovings that are just quite lovely. But you see that this hackle is really a relatively easy tool to utilize. This size of one I really like because I can move it to my work table like I've done today, and I can utilize it, and then I can put it over on, the top of my bookshelf behind my sewing desk, and I can, let it sit there when I'm not using it. It clamps to the table with just two clamps, and it's nice and portable. Doesn't weigh very much. It might weigh a quarter to a half pound, if that. Um, and it's easy to use. So if you've been thinking about what's the next tool that I can get to, get me going the next direction and progressing along in my fiber journey, well, a hackle might not be a bad idea. You can certainly use a hackle as a starter if you're not ready to spend, three, 400 up to, over $1,000 on a drum carder machine. There are a number of them out there, under $1,000, but you got to look for them, and you want to make sure that what you're getting is what you're wanting. Um, I'll talk about drum carters at that October 30th live because I've got two, and I'll show them both to you, and I'll show you the other implements of torture. Insert evil laugh here. But a hackle can help you blend fibers and open them up, um, not quite as well as a drum carding machine would, but it's a nice way to sort of get the feel for things, and you're only spending a little bit of money to give something a try. So that's it. Just an insight into fiber production this morning, and prepping fiber to be used for felting, whether that's needle felting or wet felting. And I've got a couple of nice fluffy clouds, and I've got a little bit more to do. But I wanted to let you see a little behind the scenes of fiber prep. The Felted Experience is opening soon. Make sure you head over to stabthingsintoexistence.com and you sign up for the email alerts. We're going to work on a freebie, and I'm not sure what that freebie is going to be yet, but we're working on a freebie. And there's probably going to be a giveaway in here too. So keep watching. There'll be more information later, and I will see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend, and take some time to stab something into existence. All right. See you later. Bye.